Well, good evening, all my little Pokemons. We're here tonight with Mewtwo because, well, I felt like it. I do apologize to anyone that was missing my show over the last week or so. I had vacation time from work, so that means we had two people in this room, and I didn't want to really tie up the room with me talking to my camera and possibly making a little too much unfun for the other half. But we're back again, vacation's over, and back to videos as normal. So tonight, story time is going to be about toys, specifically building blocks, even more specifically, Lego. So, my Lego journey started a lot younger than it was supposed to. Uh, we were, my parents were very proactive. They got us neat things whenever they could, but they weren't always the best at reading labels. So, they bought me some Legos when I was 3. I happily built them, sat there, didn't stick things up my nose or in my ears or anything, didn't try and eat pieces. But they were Legos that were designated for probably the 4 to 12 range or something like that. Now, one of my aunts came over and was trying to tell my mother, "You need to take those away from him. They're meant for older children. It's dangerous." My mother looked at little me sitting there with the Legos and went, "He's not sticking them in his nose. He's not eating them. He's not putting them in his ear. We are fine. He's being quiet. I am not going to argue with the fact that he's being quiet." So, starting from age 3, I was a Lego collector. I don't know for sure what set it was because I was 3, and I've had a lot of Lego since then. I do remember a police car being one of the absolute oldest sets I remember owning. I had built it and rebuilt it so many times. I had the instructions memorized and still do. So I know how to build that particular police car from within seconds at any given moment. And I still have said set. It is sorted out in a little baggie and in my Lego storage. Now, I collected Legos from that point on. Not a question. I was in love. I found something that truly spoke to me. Now, when I started, I would just put all Legos. When I finished building something, I took it apart and put it in the box. When you don't have a lot of different sets, it's not that hard to go, all right, I want to build this. I can find all the pieces. There's only this many here. I can figure out what I need to build this. But this kept going on. I got a lot of Legos over the years. And slowly but surely you went from half a dozen sets in a box to 20 sets in the box, 50 sets in the box. The mass was growing. Some of it from multi-piece sets. Back then, you still could get sets that were just like a box of bricks. These have come back over the years, but for a long time that wasn't a thing. Not really, anyway. So I had several box of brick sets, plus a lot of specifics like police cars and buildings and things. And eventually I did get a castle set, which was amazing for me. It was a smaller castle, but it still was a castle. I mean, castle with knights and swords and stuff. That was awesome. Spaceships and things, all sorts of sets. Now, this developed into a bit of a problem because now I had this massive amount of Lego, I couldn't find anything. I'd want to build something, I couldn't find this little small part or this yellow piece or whatever. So, my mother got me a set of drawers, about the size of shoe boxes, and there was 12 of them in the unit. So I sorted all my Legos by color. This was at least a good standoff. I was able to find pieces, at least to some extent, unless they were out of certain colors. At this time, black pieces alone were taking up 3 drawers. So if I needed something that was black for a thing I was building, that was a project of itself, just finding a piece. And this is about how it stayed for a long time, and I mean decades. I would just sort the Legos into the boxes after I was done building something, and black kept growing. In the end, I had gotten another big drawer that was the size of 4 of those shoeboxes put together. It was entirely full of black. Later on, there was another drawer that size. Now there are 2 of those full of black. But at some point, I decided enough is enough. I want to get my sets back. This was maybe about 8 to 10 years ago. I decided to start sorting Lego sets out of this mess. Um, Anything I still had instructions for, that was a given. I took care of those ones. I could find them, pulled stuff out, sorted it, bagged it, done. And I was also at this point getting some new Legos here and there still, and I would make sure to keep those separate. Now, there were times where I hadn't been collecting, including what I would refer to as the Lego Dark Ages, where Lego went from here's a set, and here's other things you can build with it on the back of the box, to here's a set. This is about the only way you can build these blocks and have anything useful happen. You just spent $100 for this, and you really can only build this one thing, and here's all the action functions, and we're just going to have the entire box telling you how to play with this set once you built it. During that phase, I didn't buy as many Legos. But I started getting them again because they got a lot less play and more fun of how they were built. More correctly displaying things as opposed to having a building with a million catapults attached to it, and it's really just supposed to be the gas station. But getting back to the important parts here. This was about the 8 to 10 years ago. I started to pull apart my sets. I was going through and buying a lot of the stuff that I had never been able to get off of eBay. I was amazed at some of the sets that I had always wanted as a kid, and I finally was getting to replenish, fill in holes, and I wanted to make sure I kept that magic. Now, to even further that, I was filling in holes, but I needed to pull back the thing that had a hole that would need filled. So I was going through and I found some websites where they showed the instruction manuals scanned in from all sorts of old Lego sets, sorted by years. I was like, oh, eureka! And I would sort through the years and go and figure out any set I had and found the instructions, went through those drawers one set at a time, sometimes 2 sets at a time if I had like some ideas of things I needed for this or that, and pulled things out, and quickly was amassing set after set after set that I'd revived. It was a major step here. I would build things, keep them up for a little bit, and then I would tag them with their set name, the year, and the set ID number. That way I could always find the information that I need. Current plan is, now that I have a better printer, to print out the instructions for any of these sets that I don't have and put them in the bags. That's over time. I'm not going to just sit here and print for weeks on end all at once. I'll do that as I pick and choose. But my Lego collecting obviously has not stopped. If anything, I still buy most any Lego set that I think looks worth buying. I am now older. I have this thing called a job, and therefore I have money. So I buy whatever Legos I actually want, which is not necessarily a bad thing. They're entertaining. I get a lot out of it. I feel like I enjoy myself, and then I have a neat thing to have on the table. Right now I have about 4 sets sitting on the table in the room behind me, over by that picture on the wall there. Probably can't really see them. I think the doorway cuts it off. But I have 3 large sets and a small set there that are just itching to be put together out of the most recent town stuff. So, I'm sorry, city. Used to be called town, now it's called city. Still town. um, and currently, my constructed Lego city uh, is muchly constructed of the modular buildings, the grown-up Legos, as it were. Uh, these sets are not cheap. Uh, and I have bought quite a few of them at this point. But they give me a lot of experience. You have a lot of time sitting there building these multi-level buildings that have backs. They're Lego buildings with backs. Um, I've gotten much of the ones that have come out. I don't have all the old ones because I didn't figure out they were a good idea to collect until there were about 5 or 6 of them that were past you could get these even for a reasonable price off of eBay. Now they're like $500-$600, so I don't need that one. I can live without it. And there are some regular town type buildings in there. Some out of the 3-in-1 building sets that were more interesting are constructed at the moment. A few vehicles here and there, and at the end of the street, which I have now named Main Street USA for a reason, is Cinderella's castle, because Lego made a Disney castle. And oh my glob, that thing is huge and beautiful. And took 2 months to build in my free time, because I budgeted my time. I made that Lego last a little bit, because it cost almost $400. But I got 2 months worth of building entertainment out of it, so it was worth it. Now, right now, my Lego city is sitting on a 8-foot folding table. There's still a couple other things that are built throughout the Lego room there. A couple of smaller castles. Benny's spaceship is there, which was really, really good. If you get a chance to find that set, that one, and you loved Old Space, that is power. That was an amazing set. Now, besides all the stuff that's built, I still have some stuff in the sorted drawers. Not as much as I used to. They're really thinned out. But I was running out of sets that I could remember when looking through the listings. And a lot of my Legos were out of those multi-packs, or I find them, like friends are throwing away old toys. I'd be like, I'll just take those. They're Legos. There's always room for Legos in life. And some stuff I bought off of eBay that was just pieces, so mine. But under the table where my city is are 6 18-gallon totes full of Ziploc bags, full of Lego sets, plus a bit of a heap on top of that. So, if I were to build all that stuff at this point, I'd probably fill up that whole room easily with tables and things sat on it. I built all my airport stuff at one point because airport was one of my original major drawing items. I remember getting my first airport set for Christmas. It was a freight airport. It was one of the most exciting presents I ever put together. I loved it. And looking back at it, compared to the other stuff I owned airport-wise, it is tiny. But for me, at the time, it was still one of the most monumental things. A little freight airplane, a little freight truck, forklift, and a building that they did stuff in. I don't know, it's a freight facility. That was a monumental item for me. After that, I ended up getting a passenger airport as well, which had road boards, something I always wanted. So I had roads for my little city when they weren't making an airport. But the airplanes, I loved those. So I got a lot of the airplanes that had occurred over the years that I'd missed. some of which are huge at this point. And they make that first little freight airplane look like a peanut compared to them. Peanuts, airplanes, that's a bad joke. But I tried to put together all my airport stuff when we moved into this house, and I filled up the 8-foot table. Now, I don't mean they were filled up like things were lined up and looked like things could happen. No, I mean, I ran out of space. Things were like wedged in. I filled that 8-foot table, plus that other plane sitting on the set of drawers next to it because I couldn't fit it on the table. So we referred to my airport setup as O'Hare on a good day. I have also gotten to buying the off-brand Lego airplanes whenever I run out or was running out of on-brand ones. So I have a few Sluban airplanes in there as well as Legos, which there's nothing wrong with buying off-brand when you bought all of the on-brand ones. If you're out of things to buy the other thing because it's still fun to build. I do want to build more airplanes again, rebuild some things at a chunk, maybe a bunch of passenger stuff, maybe do a bunch of freight equipment. Who knows? Depends on my mood. Right now we're just sticking with the city being assembled as it stands because taking apart those modular buildings is not going to happen. They'll get put somewhere before they're taken apart because that does not look like a rebuild of fun ever. But to say the least, I love Legos. I have since I was little, really little. I'll continue to love them. I will continue to build them as long as I can still see and pick up pieces. And worst case scenario, I have a retirement fund for autumn. You could sell them all to eBay and make a fortune, probably. Some people collect cars. Some people collect electronics. I collect Legos. Well, that was a lot of me babbling about Legos, so I hope you enjoyed something out of that. I hope you all have a lovely day, and thank you for listening to me babble on as Mewtwo.